Um, Sorry about that. So we will get started now. Annie Bojon Sken Sugwego, Lauren King Nagyaso. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's session. I am from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, raised on the Six Nations of the Grand River. I am Cayuga Clan. I am Cayuga Nation from the Turtle Clan on my mother's side, and Ojibwe from the Wolf Clan on my father's side. Today, I am coming to you from Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I want to take a few minutes to acknowledge that the city of Thunder Bay has been built on the traditional territory of the Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robertson Superior Treaty of 1850. Before I allow Perry to introduce himself, I will go over a few housekeeping items as a reminder. So I would like to kindly ask participants to keep their microphone and camera off. In the chat box, participants can type in a question or comments during the presentation. If you don't get your questions in by the end of our session, we have reserved the last 40 minutes of today's webinar for networking and a Q&A period of the plenary session. This session will be recorded and archived for future viewing, and the link will be sent out along with today's evaluation survey. Now, I would like to welcome Elder Perry McLeod Shabojisik to introduce himself.
Bonjour. Anzoka Dijnika, Shage Dodem, Bising Donjava, Nishnabé Endao. My Anishinaabe name is Anzoket, which means one who tells stories, from Nipissing, from the Crane clan. And I'm a Shkabeus, a helper here in my community and in my territory. And so I wanted to first welcome you to this lodge that I take care of on Nipissing, this sacred space that has been created for good health and well-being. It's a space that I wanted to share with you, especially at these times that we're in. I know a lot of us have been zooming around, and a lot of talking heads in our meetings, and I wanted to do it differently. And so in this lodge, I've lit this fire for this gathering, and I wanted to share the fire with you. And I want to offer some samo, some tobacco. I offered some earlier with Kevin, but I want to do this right now with you. I know many of us are having a hard time, and it's important that we help one another. So I have this sama here in my hand, and I want to offer it to the fire on your behalf. So I just want to take a few moments to give you time to send your thoughts into this sama, into this tobacco. Your thoughts could be gratitude, could be heaviness, could be something you're looking for, whatever it might be. I want to give you a few moments to put that in this sama, and I will offer that to this fire, to this doorway that I've created for all of us. So I just want to take a few moments to do that for you. Aha. Offering our sema is something very important. It's simple, but it's very important that we do that we use that tobacco, we use those offerings as a part of our way of connecting with creation, with Creator, even with ourselves, our own spirit. And so I want to open with the drum and a song. That song is called "I See the Eagle," and this gathering we have is talking about wellness and that good life that Mino-Bimaadziwin. And so this story talks about a long time ago. A long time ago when the eagle sat with Geshem Nado in the heavens. And at that time, and still today, McGee is our friend, our close friend. McGee loves us unconditional. And so the story goes that McGee sat with Geshem Nado, looking down at us and all of creation here on Turtle Island. This was when we lived here without our light-skinned relatives. And as they looked down and they gazed upon creation and all the beauty and all the gifts that were placed with us, they noticed something. They noticed a darkness, a sickness. But this darkness and this sickness was something different. It was mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. It affected all parts of our being. And as they sat there looking down at this, they watched it spread. This sickness caused us to hurt one another, to hurt ourselves, gossiping, lateral violence, physical violence, sexual violence. As this began to grow, Geshem Nado turned to McGee and said, "You know, it's getting so bad. I may have to cleanse the earth again, start all over." McGee, loving us as he did, pleaded with Geshem Nado not to do this. Geshem Nado listened to his pleas and then said, "Okay, tell you what I'm going to do. If you can go down and find one Anishinaabe offering their tobacco to the fire, giving thanks for all of this, all of the blessings of creation that I have placed in their care, I won't cleanse." McGee said, "Oh, I'll do that." He jumped at it right away. Geshem Nado said, "But you have 4 days to do this." McGee thought about it briefly and then said to himself, "I can do this." So he accepted that challenge. He accepted that task that Geshem Nado lay in front of him. So in that first morning, McGee sat in the darkness in the tree, waiting for Mishomis, the grandfather's son, to send his light, that Pida Abin, that very first light of dawn, to show him the way. And as he sat in that darkness, he was almost excited by this task he had, this challenge. And as grandfather sent that light across the land, away he went. He went to places he knew, gathering places, villages, ceremonial grounds. All those places he was very familiar with. As he traveled over them, he looked, searching for anyone offering their tobacco. But all he found on that first day were people hurting one another, neglect, all these things that made us sick. He came back at the end of that first day And Gejendado asked him, have you found anyone? Kawin, no, I have not. Well, Gejendado said, you have 3 more days. So on that second morning, Migizi sat in the darkness again, still confident, still thinking, I got this, waiting for grandfather, Mishomis, to send a light. And when that Bidabin came, away he went again. This time he went to places he hadn't been to for some time. Villages, social gathering places, lodges. Again, he traveled that first day searching and searching, looking for anyone offering their sama. But again, on that second day, all he found was that sickness, that darkness. It had spread further. He came back at the end of that second day. Nagizi asked him again, have you found anyone yet? No, Kawin, no, not yet. Well, you have 2 more days, Gejendado said. On that third morning, once again, he sat in the darkness, waiting for the light. Sitting there, a little bit of anxiety is beginning to grow, but he's still confident, still knew he had to fulfill this task. And when the light came, away he went. This time, he went to places he was told about, far off lands he had never been, but they were described to him. He found these places and he searched and searched, again looking for anyone offering tobacco, giving thanks. But as he traveled that third day, all he found was the darkness. It had spread far and wide. The heavy heart he returned back to Gejendado, the creator. This time, creator looked at him, didn't even say anything, didn't ask him. He could see it in his eyes. Both of them knew he had 1 more day. On that last morning, he sat in the darkness. The anxiety and fear was overwhelming inside. Not only for this last day that he had, but for everything he had witnessed the previous 3. And when Mishomis sent a light, showed him the way, away he went. This time he went to the edges of Turtle Island, those great shores and bays and mountains all around Turtle Island. Searching, desperation setting in, looking wherever he could find the people. Sadly, at the end of that day, he had found no one. That sickness, that darkness had spread everywhere. With a heavy heart, he turned and began to return to Gejendado, looking around, memorizing creation as he knew it, as he saw it, knowing that tomorrow it may all be gone. As he flew back, he looked at the corner of his eye and he saw a small ribbon of smoke through some trees. Out of curiosity, he flew over. He circled it once and he looked down and he saw, shkede, fire. He circled a second time, and as he looked down, he saw Mishomis Minwa Nokomis, a grandfather and a grandmother, standing on one side of the fire. Now his curiosity is rising. He circled a third time and he looked down. Binoji Sak, 2 children, a little boy and a girl, standing on the other side of that fire. Now his heart is pounding. He circled a 4th time, and as he looked down, he saw that Mishomis and Nokomis, with tobacco in their hands, offering to the fire, showing those little ones how to do that. Realizing what he's seeing, he raced back to Creator, to Gejendado, to tell him what he had found. Gejendado smiled as he told his story to him. And he said, okay, I will do as I promised. I will give them that chance for now. And they say in the mornings, when you get up, and it's still dark before the light comes, before that Bidabin comes, that you will hear the night creatures singing their night songs, the birds, the animals. In the summer, you'll hear the insects, giving thanks for that day that has passed. And then just before that Bidabin, that first light, just before the light comes, it gets quiet. For those of you who are up at that time, you know that time I'm talking about, that quiet time in between the dark and the light. And when the light comes, you hear the day creatures, the birds, the animals, the insects, waking up and singing their welcoming songs for that new day. That quiet time, that silent time, they say, is when creation turns to the east to see if Mcleod will come and bring that new day for them, that gift of new life, that do-over for creation, for us. And that silent time is when all of creation honors that Mcleod, who stood up for us, who stood up for all of creation to give us one more day. That story I heard a long time ago, and I'm sure some of you maybe have heard versions of that story. Our stories have medicine. They have teachings in them. They have messages. Some stories are more for entertainment. Others are meant to be heard. They're meant to be told. That was a gift was given to me back then in my early days. And I have shared this story over and over again. And so this story is a gift to you to share that story. Because that story speaks of many things, of hope, of determination, of love, of never giving up. We are in times when these stories are more important. We are in times when the medicine of creation is needed. All of us are helpers, are medicine people in some way. We use our medicine, hopefully, to help others, but also to help ourselves. As Indigenous people of the land, we get our medicine, our healing, our balance from creation. We recognize that we are connected in so many ways, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, to creation, to the land, the water, the fire, the air. We are a part of everything. And that's how we keep our balance, by staying connected, especially in times like this. When an elder says all my relations at the end of an invocation or prayer, they're not talking about their cousins, their kids. They're talking about them, but they're talking about everything. All of creation. We are connected. That is how we attain and maintain our balance, our good health, by staying connected. Indian medicine is not wait till you get sick and then look for something to make you better, although sometimes that happens. Indian medicine is prevention. It's staying connected to creation and staying healthy. There was a time when our people were very intimately connected to creation. We worked and lived with the cycles around us, the cycles of the season, of the plant beings, of the animal beings. We would harvest the plants when they came up in their cycles. We would know when it was time to do these things, to go out and receive that gift of life from the animals, the gift of medicine, the gift of water from the thunder beings that come in the spring and in the fall. That sacred water they bring down and they offer to creation. That connection we have to that mukwak, that bear, the one, the keeper of the medicines. We We knew when those cycles happened and we stayed connected. We've lost our way in this particular teaching, mostly because of colonization. It has fragmented our lives. We've lost some of these teachings and some of these understandings and those connections. It has caused ill health to happen in our communities, within ourselves. Times like this during COVID is a reminder. Although it is hard, it's also a gift. It's a gift to remind us of our connection to creation, to our mother, the earth, to everything around us. All of the world is in a fast, and we are just getting ready to come out. We are all fasting. And when you fast, you remove things from your life and you sit in reflection of your past, your present, and where you are going. It's a gift to be able to do that. Yes, it's a hard time. Yes, does that cause pain? But so does a fast. It's not enjoyable. It's not meant to be. But we are given this opportunity. Our mother, the earth, is sending us to our room. She wants us to think about what we are doing. For each of us to think about how we can do better. We are being given a chance. And you are on the front lines of that, all of you. And so it's so important, imperative, that you find those things that help your spirit, that help your balance. You are no good to anyone if you don't find that for yourself. To find those things, those connections that bring good health to you. I can't tell you what that is. You have to find that yourself. And I think most of you know what those things are that feed your spirit. And you need to make sure that's a part of your day. It's a part of your life. Each of us have gifts, have skills, many. In our lives, we have accepted our path that has brought us here today. Each of you in that part of your life that you are right now. And each of you know the work you have ahead. This path, this road you are on, we are walking together, side by side. We don't follow anyone. We follow our path, but we walk together. We are being challenged on our beliefs. We need to reconnect to our traditions, to our old ways, and balance them with the new. Because that is the world we live in. We open our fridge to the world. There's all kinds of foods that come from everywhere in the world. So when we do that, we also open the door to different illnesses, challenges in our health. And so some of the answers to the balance are also from those parts of the world. Myself, I am of the notion that our medicine can work with other medicines, other ways. We can find some balance between Western and traditional. Because that is what's affecting our lives. For Anishinaabe people, for Indigenous people, we've always received that from creation. We just left the McLeod, the bare moon. And that bare moon is a special time That bear is that special being that takes care of our medicines, directs us, gives us guidance as those who work in the healing field. And in that moon, the bear, that makwa, turns in the den in February, around that time, during that moon. And that bear in the den, as it turns, sends a message to the thunder beings to get their water ready, their sacred water of life, that water that comes in those storms in the spring. And that bear, that makwa, teaches us about sleep, about how important that is, about fasting and how important that is, about dream time, how our dreams are important to help guide us in our lives. That makwa fasts for months. Us, we fast for a couple of days and we're whining and crying. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do it. You don't hear that from the makwa. And not only that, that female bear, she's fasting, she's sleeping, she's in her den, snuggled up to our mother, the earth, in her den. And she's having babies. She's having her cubs. Right now, her cubs have been born. They say at this time when you get up in the morning and you see the mist in the trees, that's the breath of those cubs. That's that new life. And it's the bear that leads that new cycle that comes. That new cycle of life that we are moving into. And when they send that signal to the thunder beings prepare their sacred water to come and to drop it on the earth, on our mother. That's Mother Earth's water breaking and all the new life coming from that. All the flowers and the animals and everything, that new life, that new cycle that the world experiences, every cycle comes and is led by that makwa. So we feast the bear during makwa geese, the bear moon, to give thanks to the bear for doing that. Because they say if that bear doesn't turn in the den, we're in a lot of trouble. Those cubs won't be born. That new cycle will be stunted. So simple things about giving thanks, doing our offerings, taking care of ourselves. Yes, there's lots of things happening in the world and around us, but we need to stay focused on ourselves and the work we have. To be like that Migizi, to never give up, to be kind and gentle with ourselves as well as others. That is the Anishinaabe way. We see creation and all the beings, all the relations, as relationships that we have, like we have in our families and in our communities, in our workplaces. Everything is about relationships for Anishinaabe. When we go out to harvest our medicines, we're not just going out to cut plants, to cut things and take them. We are going out to meet our relatives and ask them for help. Ask them to give up their gift of their medicine to help bring balance to our lives. We see the plant beings as beings just like us. They have medicine like us. They have family like us. They have children. offspring, parents. They've come from somewhere, they're going somewhere, they have purpose. They have cousins, other plants that are cousins. The mint family has many, many cousins in their family. They have friends they like to hang out with, other plant beings. You go look for bearberry. They often hang out with juniper, jack pine, blueberries. You often find them together hanging out. And they like to hang out in particular places. Plants just don't grow everywhere. They have places they like to be, just like us. We have friends that we hang with, not everybody. So we see creation as a series of relationships. And as we get to know a plant, a medicine, we develop a relationship with that plant. We begin to know where it hangs out and who its friends are, its characteristics. They behave in a particular way. Some plants are aggressive. Some are laid back. Some are loners. Some travel in groups. It's like us. So as we get to know the plants, we get to know them at a personal level. And plants are helpers, like us. When you help someone, you can't do all the work, nor should you. They are the ones that need to do the work, but you guide them. You help them. That's what plants do. They're not here to do the work for us. They're not here to heal us. They're here to help us. The healing comes from within each of us. You are your own healer, but you can also help others in their healing by nurturing that fire of healing within them. That's the special gift that you all have. You have that gift, that fire within you, that purpose within you to help in the healing field. So your role is vital. Vital for our people. Vital for society. Those are things that I want you to know. How important you are. How important the work you do is. No matter what you do. We are a collective. We need each other. We all have a place, just like in creation, the plants, the animals, in that web of life, everything has a place, so do we. And we need each other. That is our medicine. We cannot do things alone. We need to feed off each other, to support one another. One of the worst sicknesses we can have during times like this is when we isolate ourselves from each other to not help one another. To divide. You see that happening. We cannot do that. We have always survived by staying together, by using our humor as a medicine. Medicine is everywhere. Medicine is in the plant beings, as I talked about. Medicine is in the fire. It draws us close. It makes us feel good when we are by the fire. Medicine is in the water. We drink that water, that fresh water, and it makes us feel good. Fresh air. The earth gives us medicine. There's medicine in our words. The story I told earlier has medicine in it for each of us. It makes you feel certain things, different stories and different words that we use. Sometimes we speak to each other and we put medicine in those words that we don't even realize how hurtful it can be. We always need to be aware of our words, whether we're texting or we're speaking, because those words carry that medicine and they are received by those on the other end of those words. We need to be more careful with how we use our words. They carry that. These are some of the things that I think about, that I've been taught, that I've come to understand. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the way it is. This is the way it is for me. It's what I've come to understand. You all need to come to your place of understanding from what you learn in life, who your teachers, the teachings they give you, and how you understand them, how you embrace them, how you make them a part of your journey. I can't sit here and tell you how to do that, but I can share my journey with you to help you understand how I got to where I am in my life, and maybe those things that helped me. And maybe by sharing a little bit of my journey, a little bit of my medicine, maybe that will help you. I'm a helper. That's what I do. You are helpers. That's what you do. You try to comfort people, make them feel better. You share your medicine, whether it's through your caring ways or the knowledge you've received, that you may share with them so they can feel better, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And of course, we've always seen our health as being all parts of those, and they're all connected. You could be hurting physically from something, but it affects all the other parts of your being. As Anishinaabe, as Indigenous people, we always recognize that. So it's important to remember that when you work with people, that you may cure them from the disease, but they are not healed until they look at all parts of their being and address how that sickness may have affected the other parts. I'd like to ask, I don't know if there are any questions or comments that can guide our conversation. There might be some things that you would like to share or to have me touch on. I'll do my best. I don't have access to the chat, so I'm going to ask the person who is helping me out to maybe view the chat to see if there's any questions or comments from what I've shared so far.
Perry, we do have a comment from Maureen. It says, Perry McWitch, your teaching is profound. Medicine is everywhere. Love for humanity is medicine. A calling that fills nurses' souls. We are helpers like you. In these dark days, in that space between night and day, we can continue to show gratitude and kindness. Chimigwich. I have another comment.
Those are beautiful. There's a lot of good medicine in those words.
Yes, there is.
That's what I mean. When you hear the words, they make you feel, they give you good medicine. Miigwech for that.
So I have another
Is there
comment.
any other? Okay.
I have another comment from Maureen. She asks, how are you connecting with your communities during COVID? And are they responding to virtual reteachings?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, when everything happened, when it began to hit our communities, the biggest challenge was the fear. And the COVID itself was beginning to spread in the world. It hadn't quite got here yet, but panic began to set in. And so we couldn't meet physically. And that's when I had made a decision that I would do this kind of virtual circles and gatherings and teachings. Because I received the teaching a long time ago from one of my teachers that there's always a way. And just because you're in a situation doesn't mean you just stop doing the work. You find a way to do the work. And so I began to offer the fire on Zoom, on the webinar, on Teams, you know, these other platforms. But always being aware of the traditional protocols and things around ceremony. I could do some things, but other things I couldn't do. And so my community, I began to share my thoughts and telling people to not panic. And I received some teachings on how to protect yourself using medicine. There was different medicines that were shared, medicine recipes for teas you could drink that would help strengthen your body to resist different kinds of diseases like COVID, imbalances in your system. So we started to share some of that. We also shared, a teaching came from a shaker, a Jishki Nina, a shake tent man, who received the teaching about creating these tobacco ties with cedar and asking the protection for that, and then hanging them on your doors where things come in, doors and windows inside your house, and smudging with sage and old man's beard, which is an antiviral medicine. So I began to share those things with people, and the fear began to subside a bit. It didn't go away, but it certainly took the edge off of a lot of the fear, because people began to panic. That's when, you know, all the toilet paper was gone in the stores. That first time, that was the hardest time. The next cycles that came, people were still, you know, concerned, but it was a lot less fear. So we were able to equip people with some things they could do to bring some sense of protection. And we managed to get through things to where we are today by doing a lot of those health protocols that came from the different health departments, health centers, and places, but also to do some traditional things that you could also add to that. And I think that was part of the biggest fear they had, was the unknown and not being able to, feeling like you couldn't do anything. You had to just lock yourself in the house and hide behind the door. So giving that gave them some sense of control of at least their own space. And so that seemed to work very well. Not because it was just there to make them feel good, but there is that real belief, and I have that these things work. They work hand in hand, the spiritual and the physical that we do. It all has medicine. So that's kind of where we're at here in our community. And I think most Indigenous communities sort of came to that same place over time. We all have our medicine people, both in the Western and traditional, that work together. And that was another thing, to work together, to not work in isolation. Again, not separate, not divide. We need to come together. Times like this, more than ever, we need to come together to share our knowledge. Because knowledge is like water that flows through all of us. We all have a little bit of that water flows, and we share our knowledge with each other, what we know with one another. So that water flows from me to the next person, and they share their knowledge with me, and it comes to me, and it flows through everyone. And if you work in isolation and you don't share your knowledge or receive it, that water will get stale. So we need to come together. We need to share each other's knowledge like water.
I have a few more
Is there any other?
Yes.
Sure.
The next one is from Chloe. How can we provide the best care towards patients who identify as Indigenous?
Well, I think, when they come into the different facilities, it's a bit of a culture shock for, especially when we're talking about the northern communities. It happens in the south as well. Life on the res and life in the city is different. Even within the city, those Anishinaabe people, those Indigenous people, Cree, Haudenosaunee, Maliseet, whatever they might be, their homes are different, and they are different in how they live their life. So I think, you know, when you receive those clients or patients in your facilities, by just being open-minded to their beliefs, to their experience, their life experience, because there may be some who don't really know much of their own ways. Colonization has done a number on all of us. Some of us have worked our way back from what colonization has taken away, but other families are still on, you know, still a work in progress. So being open-minded, understanding there's differences in how we are, and just know that there's, you know, there is truth in how they are and what they believe, even if you don't understand it fully. Know that for them, that is their truth. That is the way they believe, and try to leave that door open when you work with them. And to not come in as a savior. I'm going to save you with my ways. You know, you help them instill their power of healing within themselves. You support and you nourish their spirit and their ability to heal themselves. Western medicine tends to sort of be that, have that godlike role where I'm going to cure you, I'm going to save you. Indian medicine isn't like that. It's, I'm going to give you some things so you can heal yourself. I'm going to guide you through this. And I'm going to bring in some spirits and some medicine that is going to help you, but you have to do the work. I don't know if that helps or answers the question, but that's what I got.
Yes, it does. The next question is from Lisa. How would you like to see Western medicine change?
Well, actually, I still see it. I see it changing for the better. I see a lot of the nurses, for instance, in the hospitals, and tend to be more connected to the patients, to the community, to the people that come in. Doctors still seem to be a little distant, but you know, I work with different universities, medical universities like Northern Ontario School of Medicine and Ottawa U, and work in their medical programs with the students. And I see the younger generation coming in, being a lot more open to things. The old school teachers, or the old school doctors, I should say, are old school. So there's still some old dinosaurs walking around that still sort of have that sort of very narrow way of seeing things, and still have a lot of doubt in Indian medicine or any kind of natural medicines and ways. But you know, I had experiences in the hospital here in my community when my dad was dying. They were okay with us coming into his room just before he passed, to bring in our hand drum, to sing, to be with him, to be there for that moment when his spirit left his vessel. And the nurses were the ones who gave us that space, and who talked to the other patients who didn't like what we were doing, or the sound of the drum and all this. They didn't like that. And it was the nurses who said, they need to do this. They created that space for us. And now with the hospitals, they're creating more spaces for us to do ceremony in hospitals, to bring in our ways. And so that's a beautiful thing. So I do see it happening. It's not there yet. But I do, in my experience, I'm seeing more and more of that, and it certainly makes me happy to see that. It's probably harder to do that in the bigger hospitals in the cities where the institutions are very, fixed. They don't like change. They don't like feelings and things they're not accustomed to. But I see in the smaller places, in the more rural areas, seem to be a little more open, a little more flexible with things. But that's just my experience. Anything else?
Yes. Yes, I have a number of questions now. So this question is from, I apologize, I'm going to mispronounce this name. It's FYI. Are you still doing ceremonies virtually or in person?
I'm doing both. I'm doing a little more in person, but we have protocols we follow, and I've changed the way I do things now in ceremony when it's, when we're in the same space. Like here, I'll have a couple of people, but they'll sit with their masks away. I used to do the puagan, the pipe, and pass the pipe around for people to smoke. Now I don't do that. I smoke the pipe, and I might bring it around, but they don't touch it. They greet the puagan, the grandfather, and I'll do that. My fan or my talking stick, I used to pass it around for people to share. Now I hold it on their behalf and direct it to them. So there are still things, that have changed in how we do in ceremony right now. And I think there's going to be a continuation of that even after this, because the world's not going to be the same. It is going to be different, and so it should. It's certainly giving us a lot to think about, and a lot of us to reflect and change in our lives, how we carry ourselves, how we communicate and engage with each other. And I still do virtual. Here I am tonight, with a fire and doing a circle virtually. And I'm getting a little more comfortable with the virtual. And I'm thinking that even after COVID is gone, I think there'll still be time to do this, because it's a good way to be able to meet together, to do ceremony, to communicate, to share when we can't be here together. I recently, just about a month ago, I did a pipe ceremony here that with other elders from across Canada, but I was leading the pipe ceremony. It was weird. I'd never done that before, but I did the pipe here, had the fire. We did a sunrise ceremony, shared that story that I shared with you. And the elders had their pipes, and they were, I was here. There was elders out in East Coast, Calgary, Edmonton. I'm not sure if there's any in BC or not, but they brought their bundles together, their pipes, and we smoked our pipes all together using Zoom. And each of them smoked their pipe and did their sharing. And it was beautiful. Yeah, it wasn't as good as being all together, but there was a time back, I am told, when we did a lot of this Zooming without Zoom, when medicine people could visit each other without physically being together. Their spirits could travel. We had these abilities and gifts to do the things we're doing now, but now we're using mechanical things to do what we used to do just with our mind and our spirit. So, for me, this is almost like doing those same things that we used to do in a different way. And so I'm okay with doing some of this. Not everybody is who works in this field, who does the traditional work. They have their ways and their teachings, and that's fine for them. I'm not going to tell them you have to do this, because if they don't feel right, then they shouldn't. For me, I'm more of a liberal, I guess, if you will, about doing this work. I'm always looking for a way to do it without offending anyone or without stepping outside of all the protocols, trying to, stay. I'm trying to think outside the box, but stay within the circle as best I can. Anything else?
There are a couple more questions that we will have to carry over to the plenary session at the end. At this moment,
Okay.
time is up. So I want to thank you for all participating in the session again. We'd like to thank Perry for graciously sharing his wisdom and his traditional teachings with us today. I now invite participants to transition back to the plenary session using the same Zoom link you used to log in at the start of the webinar. The link is posted in the chat. If you do get disconnected, you can use the link that was provided in the confirmation email that you received. And we'll see you all shortly.
Aha. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Perry.
Oh. Now let's zoom back to the other room.
Yes.